Ready when you guys are.
Okay. Well, hello Ted, how you been doing?
I've been doing great, doing good.
Well, what brings you to St. Louis today?
Well, I've been asked to come and be a part of these festivities, celebrating Sam Mushnick, Larry Manisek, and Wrestling at the Chase. And when I was asked, I mean, it was, I didn't even hesitate. I said absolutely, because a big part of the early years and the foundation of my career were as a result of what I did here.
Yeah, and there's a book out now that is because of Wrestling and Chase, correct?
Correct.
Now, when you were in the WWE and WWF, what has your career been there?
What was the what?
Your career. What started you in the WWF back in the early 90s?
Well, I started there. I went there in '87. That's when I started there as the $1 Million Man. Up until that point, you know, up until Vince McMahon went national, and then obviously international, wrestling was all done territorially. And that's why the reason that Wrestling at the Chase and St. Louis wrestling was so unique was that it was this entity in itself. In other words, guys came here and wrestled that were from Minneapolis and from, you know, Georgia and from, you know, wherever, Texas. You know, it wasn't like just the talent that were wrestling in the, because technically speaking, St. Louis was part of the Kansas City territory. But you know, it's kind of like you can be one of the main eventers for the Kansas City territory and not be wrestling here at all.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
It does.
And
Before WWE, what was your toughest match to date?
Before the WWE, well, you know, it's like you can't talk about a tough match when you're talking about sports entertainment is wrestling with somebody who's not very good. But one of the best matches, or one of the matches that I keep going back to, and I've already alluded to it, was the first major, I would say, stepping stone in me becoming a big star was when I wrestled Harley Race at the Kiel Auditorium in front of a sellout crowd for an hour. That put me on, that put me out there.
And I heard in your Hall of Fame speech that you had a major stipulation match with fellow Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Can you expound on that match?
You know, I can't remember matches. I mean, it's kind of like, now I remember, you remember when you wrestle in front of a sellout crowd and you're the main event and you're getting a big payday. You never forget those. But Hacksaw Jim Duggan and I, we wrestled all over Mid-South. And, you know, now there was one stipulation match that was just crazy. It was like we were inside a steel cage. There was a coal miner's glove attached to a pole that had been, you know, put up in the corner.
Yep.
And if you got up there, got to be able to get the coal miner's glove, you could use it because it was loaded. And the other stipulation of that match, it was all these stipulations in one. The other one was loser leave town.
Right.
So inside a steel cage, coal miner's glove on top of the pole, loser leave town. And I was going to Japan, so I lost.
Anyway, how do you feel? What's your opinion on the current crop of wrestlers in both WWE and the NXT?
You know, I went to NXT. I got involved. They asked me to come down there. They got a young guy named Cameron Grimes, is his wrestling name, and they did this thing where he hit the stock market and becomes rich overnight, and is doing all this stuff and doing really good, and that was the deal. And so I went down there, and I think it was going to be a 3 or 4 week deal. It turned into all summer. I think what they're doing down there is they're doing a good job. my issue with wrestling today, in terms of like long shows, but it's more of a soap opera. You follow me?
Yeah, I follow you.
It's instead of it being a 3-hour wrestling show, it's like a 2-hour soap opera with about an hour's worth of wrestling. And I mean, I'm old school. I'm not gonna knock anybody, but I just it's just coming from where I came from and the generation I came from, I just that doesn't do anything for me.
Well, in closing, what would you like to say to everybody that would like to be a professional wrestler like you were?
If they want to be a professional wrestler, I would say work hard. It's not an easy business to break into, and time means everything. The one thing I would say, because there are a lot of wrestling and quote unquote schools out there, before you join any wrestling school, you make sure whoever's running that wrestling school is somebody that's noteworthy, that has connections to the WWE, and can legitimately give you an opportunity at some point to get in front of them to see if you're good enough to go.
Well, thank you, Ted. I enjoyed this interview, and good luck with the other stuff.
Okay.
Thanks, Ted.